Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hundreds of arrests and thousands of pounds of fentanyl seized. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya C. Local leaders announced today that a months-long drug enforcement operation along the border was successful. And KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has the details.
Fentanyl smugglers have been keeping law enforcement busy, especially along the southwest border. Today, local leaders announced the results of a crackdown called Operation Blue Lotus.
In just 58 days, law enforcement seized 4,721 pounds of fentanyl across the southern and central districts of California, and more than 1,700 pounds of precursors.
U.S. Attorney Randy Grossman also said 200 people were arrested. He said the 2-month-long effort was to stop the synthetic opioid from getting into the U.S.
to target the smugglers, traffickers, and dealers of this deadly poison.
Locally, they ramped up enforcement along the border and ports of entry.
85 HSI special agents placed into our task forces. An increase of 35 Customs and Border Protection officers. Many more targeted inspections at the border. The use of advanced technology at locations along the border.
Grossman called San Diego the epicenter of the national fentanyl crisis. In this operation, DHS confiscated nearly 3,000 pounds of fentanyl, a 300% increase from the same period last year.
That's an additional ton of this poison that was seized.
They not only traced fentanyl seizures back to Mexico, but also inside San Diego County.
Identifying the most prolific fentanyl distributors and dealers here in San Diego County.
Sheriff Kelly Martinez says her department's border crime suppression team is already set to surpass last year's number of drug seizures.
So far this year, the BCST has seized more than 1.5 million fentanyl pills. They are on pace to see record drug seizures across all categories.
Fentanyl killed 70,000 people in the United States. There is really nothing that is capable of this much killing, murder, and destruction.
And San Diego County District Attorney Summer Stephan says her office is currently prosecuting 24 Blue Lotus cases.
When you look in San Diego, it becomes very personal. When 814 San Diegans were lost to fentanyl in 1 year, and 12 of them were under the age of 18, with the youngest being a 13-year-old.
The operation is part of a federal multi-pronged strategy to fight fentanyl drug deaths and includes cooperation with the Mexican government. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
The U.S. Surgeon General is warning about the dangers of social media and its impact on young people's mental health. Coming up, what the nation's top doc is calling on tech companies to do now. The fight for better working conditions and better pay has more workers organizing, and that includes coffee baristas. As KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne tells us, a Starbucks in Encinitas is now the first in the county to unionize.
When Danica Brown started working at Starbucks, she said she loved it.
This was my favorite job in the whole world. I loved coming in, I loved seeing everybody, I loved making the drinks.
But things started to change.
Just having less people on the floor, having more strain on yourself, I'm not a happy person when I leave, and I don't like that.
She said there used to be up to 7 workers on the floor during a shift.
Corporate has decided to cut labor, so they're trying to see how few people we can run the floor with. At times it's been 3, even 2 if we have to run lunches, which isn't really feasible for a drive-through and lobby store.
Hours were cut too, and Brown says most of the baristas at the shop have had to take on side jobs to make ends meet.
They're going down to like 11 hours, and there are people who have been asking, like, I need more hours to be able to make rent, I need this, and we're all doing DoorDash and Shipt and Instacart on the side.
Together, the workers at the Starbucks off Leucadia and the I-5 voted to join Starbucks Workers United. They have become the 24th store in California to unionize, but the first in San Diego County.
It feels so good. It's crazy. Like, it took us about 3 months to get to where we are now. But it feels good. It feels like we finally have a voice. We can, be heard and do what we need to do to be able to do our jobs and support our customers effectively.
Brown hopes their win inspires others to join forces and speak up against unfair work practices. And she hopes this means their store will get more staff and they can go back to relying on one stream of income like it used to be.
Be able to support ourselves for rent, be able to be happy when we leave, do our jobs effectively, and not have like 20-minute wait times in our drive-thru.
Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The San Diego Unified School District is closing its IHigh Academy. The virtual learning platform helped hundreds of children learn from home at the height of COVID. KPBS education reporter MG Perez says the change has many parents concerned.
Fingers typing quickly to finish a class assignment. 7-year-old Maya and her young brothers, Matthew and Bobby, have used their living room as a classroom for more than 2 years. They are children with special needs and students of San Diego Unified's IHigh Virtual Academy. Their mother only wants to be identified as Maria because she has a restraining order against their father. She believes this is the safest learning environment for her children, especially 10-year-old Matthew with medical needs, who was depressed attending school in person.
Todo el tiempo lo estuvieron haciendo bullying, su autoestima está muy mal, él siente que no sabe leer cuando sabe leer y él se autodice esas palabras que le decían que yo no sabía.
Each of Maria's children have an individualized education plan. The legal IEP documents require specific services and modalities for them to be taught. The single mother learned through an email that the virtual platform will end for her 2 sons, who are continuing in middle school.
No nos notificaron nada, no nos pidieron opinión. No nos tomaron en cuenta ni a nuestros niños ni a nadie.
The district has decided to end IHigh next month for students in 6th to 12th grade. That means Maya, with a diagnosis of autism, can keep to her computer for a couple more years, but her brothers cannot.
Ellos estudian a su propio ritmo, pero para niños con necesidades especiales es completamente ilógico.
There are just a few weeks left in the school year and the end to IHigh Academy in its present form. It does not mean the end to virtual learning. It does mean school board trustees have a lot of work to do to figure out what comes next.
What we're trying to do is to catch them up so that we can all come in on a level playing field.
The school board is negotiating options for roughly 300 middle and high school students who remain virtual and would be impacted by the IHigh shutdown. Those options include passing the teaching responsibilities to neighborhood schools that would then offer independent study programs and hybrid online learning.
The best would be a student can remain at his or her school and figure out a way so that they can take time off and do it virtually.
As San Diego Unified trustees continue to negotiate options, Maria will join other IHigh Academy parents at next Tuesday's school board meeting, where they plan to be heard during time given for public comments. MG Perez, KPBS News.
A new performing arts center is coming to Morse High School in the Skyline neighborhood. Today, students and district officials signed their names to the final steel beam, topping off the building still under construction. Voter-approved bond money is paying for the new 2-story student services and performing arts center. It's the first indoor performance facility at Morse since it opened in 1962.
We haven't had a great facility to even have performances. So for years, students have been performing in the cafeteria and the auditorium. You know, the lighting is not the best, staging isn't the best. So this is going to really highlight the great talent we have of our kids.
The Performing Arts Center is expected to open in the summer of 2024. With repairs on the sinkhole on Lake Drive almost completed, the city of Encinitas is closing a temporary access road. North County reporter Alexander Wynn explains why residents there are against keeping the link open.
Construction crews have started to remove the huge metal beams used to shore up the cliffs while they replace the corrugated metal pipes that failed, causing a huge sinkhole on Lake Drive mid-January. They are replacing them with these concrete culverts. The work is expected to be completed around mid-June. For a while, residents were able to go around the sinkhole to access their homes on the south side of the street, but multiple winter storms in March expanded the sinkhole. Tony Krantz is the mayor of Encinitas.
When the sinkhole developed to the point where the Lake Drive was no longer passable for the folks that lived on the south side of the sinkhole, we opened up a street between Wales Drive and Crest Drive in order for people to get into and out of their homes.
While that solved one problem, it created another. Crest Drive is a narrow street without sidewalks and wasn't meant to handle the increased traffic.
They're not happy with all the traffic that's going through there right now, and they want it to go back the way it was, which was blocked off.
Jamie Lee Templin lives near the sinkhole. She says there was increased traffic on her street, even though it wasn't directly affected by the sinkhole. This is the emergency access road. There used to be a barricade and vegetation, and now it's a four-way stop, and residents want this to be used as an emergency exit with a gate. The closure of Lake Drive alerted residents in the city about the danger of having one exit route for the neighborhood in a high fire risk area. The city had two choices: keep the road open or close it and install an electronic gate for use as an emergency exit.
And for a variety of reasons, the city council decided to close the road again and put in the emergency gate.
The city will need to replace the temporary pavement with new asphalt up to city standards. That will cost the city $100,000. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
It's official. Voters will cast their ballots for a new District 4 supervisor on August 15th. Today, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors formally approved a resolution calling for the special election. The seat was left open when Nathan Fletcher resigned earlier this month. If no candidate receives a majority vote, a special general election would be held on November 7th.
I'm William Brangham. Tonight on the NewsHour, Uvalde, Texas reflects on the first anniversary of the school shooting that forever changed that community. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
It's been more than 2 months since the COVID emergency food benefits ended in California. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson spoke with neighbors who are already feeling the strain.
I just hope the state, the federal government, somebody wakes up, you know, it's like people are gonna starve.
Sit right here. Maria Hernandez lives with her 17-year-old daughter in Poway. They survive off Hernandez's disability check and their combined CalFresh benefits. In March, the COVID emergency allotments ended. Their monthly grocery assistance went from about $600 down to just $160.
$160 for me and my daughter. That's nothing. That's nothing. You can't survive.
With the extra benefits, Hernandez used to buy fresh vegetables and lean meats. Now, they eat what they can afford: ground beef and tuna fish, mac and cheese and top ramen. Produce from food pantries often goes bad within a day, she says. The nutritional change reflected in her doctor's visits for her diabetes.
Because the processed food is cheaper, which is sad, you know, and that's not good for me. My sugars were leveled, but now they're going up and down again.
Hernandez works the grocery sales, but still has to dip into savings. When she had the extra benefits, she set some aside each month to prepare for the day when they would end. She has a stockpile in her pantry. She estimates it will last 2 more months. After that, she'll do whatever she has to.
There's going to be times where, you know, I'm going to just let her eat or whatever the case may be, you know, because I can't afford it.
The end of the emergency allotments resulted in an estimated loss of more than 7.5 million meals a month in San Diego County. Hernandez is one of many.
And a lot of people think it's just unhoused. It's just people that, you know, don't have homes, that may be struggling with food insecurity. It's not. It could be your neighbor, it could be your friend, it could be a colleague.
Food banks, already strained by record food inflation and rising transport costs, are reporting increased demand they're unable to meet. Feeding San Diego spokesperson Carissa Casares says the emergency allotments are irreplaceable.
There's no solution to this, really. This was a huge loss for our whole state, for the whole country, and food banks can't just simply come up with the replacement. We're struggling already with donations that are down from the height of the pandemic. It's not seen as so much of a crisis anymore.
Hunger Coalition CEO IHigh Closing puts this into perspective.
The loss of these emergency allotments is worse than if every single food bank and food pantry closed their doors.
Brackey says CalFresh benefits have other advantages over food banks. The dollars are spent locally. They're accessible for those who can't make it to a food bank and can be spent on foods appropriate to someone's culture and diet. And Brackey says many San Diegans who are eligible are not enrolled. They may not realize that the income limit is double the federal poverty level, or they believe incorrectly that it will endanger their ability to become a citizen.
So our immigrant and refugee and migrant neighbors, they're afraid to apply for CalFresh because they're worried that they'll be considered a public charge on the government and be looked on less favorably for citizenship. So that is not true.
And many who are enrolled are not getting the maximum benefit for which they're eligible. She says the system is unnecessarily complicated. It requires internet access, tech savvy, and advanced language proficiency. If everyone who is eligible for CalFresh got the benefit, she says food banks could be used more strategically for people who are not eligible. May is CalFresh Awareness Month, and Brackey and her team are encouraging San Diegans who do have that access to learn the system so they can help others enroll. And no one should be embarrassed.
The numbers just don't work out when you look at the salaries and you look at the cost of living. So it really isn't a sign of personal failing. This is really an equity issue.
Brackey and other advocates are eyeing a piece of legislation that, if approved, would increase the monthly minimum CalFresh benefits from $23 per month to $50. It's an increase almost big enough to cover a gallon of milk and a dozen eggs each week. Meanwhile, Hernandez's stockpile is running out. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
For some kids, no school means more time online, and now the nation's top doctor says using social media presents a profound risk of harm to them. Karen Kaifa explains.
U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy is sounding the alarm, issuing a 25-page advisory laying out the risks of social media for kids.
I am very concerned now that social media is an important factor that is driving this youth mental health crisis.
The advisory details studies linking social media to depression and anxiety, poor sleep, online harassment, and low self-esteem.
This is a real point of concern here. When nearly half of kids are telling us that social media use makes them feel worse.
Dr. Murthy is calling for more research into the impact of social media, and he's calling on policymakers and tech companies to take action.
This is pervasive. It is everywhere. And that's why it's so important that we support parents.
The White House is doing just that, mobilizing an interagency task force to identify current and emerging risks. The task force will also develop guidelines for tracking and preventing those risks.
Over the last year, we're seeing searches like how much screen time is too much for my kids, or how do I keep my kids safe online, increased by over 200%.
Google, meanwhile, is among the tech companies that say they have developed tools to help parents, including the ability to set hard screen time limits.
Actually setting up some hard limits help enable your kids to have a chance to wind down and have restorative sleep, which is so critical for adolescent development.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
Despite what its name may imply, binge watching may not be all that impulsive. Research by the UC San Diego's Rady School of Management released today shows that binge sessions are commonly planned out by viewers, and researchers found viewers prefer to binge sequential programming with an overarching narrative such as Stranger Things or Handmaid's Tale. Viewers are also more likely to wait until they're able to watch more than one episode at a time. Millions of people will be hitting the road and skies for Memorial Day weekend. According to AAA, San Diego is one of the top 3 destinations in Southern California, and those tourists will be a welcome sight for small business owners. The San Diego Tourism Authority says more than 28 million visitors brought $13.6 billion to our region last year.
Tourism-wise, I would imagine everyone's coming to town. Kids are done with school. So it should be hustling and bustling here in Coronado. So I hope that's the beginning of summer.
And business owners also hope that the warmer weather returns to San Diego, bringing another surge of tourists with it through the summer.
Low clouds and fog continue to highlight the forecast over the course of the next couple of days. Along with that, some gusty breezes throughout the mountains and into the high desert. A slight warming trend perhaps later on this weekend, but if anything, a bit of a cooling trend here the next couple of days. For tonight, we'll be looking at low temperatures dropping down into the upper 50s. Again, low cloudiness, and at the coast, we're going to be talking about lots of clouds around the next couple of days. In fact, a little, if any, breaks even as we work our way toward the midday hours and into the afternoon. Oceanside, again, down to 60 tonight. The same in Chula Vista, 65 Borrego Springs. Ramona will match Mount Laguna as we drop off into the mid-50s. And notice with Futurecast, notice the persistence of the clouds hanging around. And those continue right into the midday hours. But even notice, again, as we're working into the midday hours, still at the immediate coast, we're going to be talking about some cloudiness. So slow to erode here as we work our way through the afternoon. And gradual improvement here over the interior valleys, where high temperatures top off at 72 in Ramona. Borrego Springs up to 95, Mount Laguna 61, Oceanside, clouds around, high temperature at 68. As we transition here, roughly in about a week and change into the month of June, of course, climatologically speaking, the historical averages of rainfall really start to drop. We're not looking at any wet weather here in the foreseeable future. At the coast, notice a gradual climb with that temperature by Sunday. Otherwise, lots of low clouds around here as we work our way into Wednesday. Interior valleys, low clouds will break, then some sunshine, and a gradual warming trend from Saturday into Sunday. Gusty wind speeds over the mountains throughout Wednesday into Thursday. Still cool. Gradually, we'll tick our way up here degree by degree Saturday into Sunday. And over the deserts, also some gusty breezes. Notice we'll bottom out in the low 90s on Friday, starting to climb again back into the mid-90s by Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Pavic.
The Marie Hitchcock Puppet Theater has been operating at Balboa Park since 1947, and for the past 3 years, it's been a San Diego International Fringe Festival venue. But KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says this year marks the first time that it will be staging its own Fringe show.
For decades, the Marie Hitchcock Puppet Theater has been a favorite venue for children's shows. But for the San Diego International Fringe Festival, it's trying something new.
All right, so welcome to our meeting. This is Kiddables Anonymous. I am Flower, and I am here to lead you on your road to recovery and healing.
Kiddables Anonymous is an improv puppet show.
I will not bite other members.
I will bite other members' heads off.
Okay, this one is always hard for us. Let's try that again.
My role is I'm kind of the moderator therapist of the group.
And kids are friends, not food.
Kids are friends, not food.
Whatever. Fantastic.
Kiddables Anonymous is group therapy for iconic animal characters who've gone bad and need to address their addiction to eating children.
We got hungry, so we pulled Kid out of bobsled and ate him.
So being improv, there's basically, I start the show as my character and I end the show, and everything else in between is kind of up for grabs.
It's exciting. It's a little scary because you don't know what's going to happen, but that's part of the fun. It's the surprise and just adapt to whatever happens. Seriously, those kids are so annoying. Dude, you're looking at me. You want to eat me? Bring it up. I'm a disgruntled bunny who doesn't like kids and bites them. So I've been having a lot of fun with the character, been able to channel some of my frustrations and getting it out. It's been a lot of fun, so I'm really glad I've had this opportunity.
I enjoy improvising and just playing off the other performers, especially when I use a totally different voice and hide my true selves. And for the Yeti, I decided to just do my Cookie Monster.
So Yeti talk like this. Yeah, me was hungry, so me ate kid.
I would leave any expectations at the door of what you think a puppet show is supposed to look like and be like.
I usually work with hand puppets, so all I have is this, but with a full body I've got everything, so that makes it a little bit easier to be expressive.
This may not be the kind of performance the Marie Hitchcock Puppet Theater is best known for, but its creative director Max Daly says puppetry can be many things.
Hand puppet, string, shadow, rod, and then the fifth would be mask or costume, which is what they're doing.
Hi everybody, my name is Huckleberry Gator.
Hi Huckleberry.
Well, while you're in the mascot costume, you're basically like a puppet cartoon character. You can run around, jump around, act like a goofball, like stuff you can kind of get away with. In the gator costume,
although sitting with a tail may prove a challenge. Kiddables Anonymous has 3 more performances at Fringe, and each one will be unique. So sign up for a group session, but maybe leave the tasty young children at home. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. California's melting snowpack is an opportunity to cash in. NPR's Morning Edition tells us about the boost for whitewater rafting getting a boost after years of drought. And KPBS Midday Edition will have the latest episode from our special podcast series, Freeway Exit. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.